Hey guys, so we are back. I am going to continue on with systems of equations for this lesson. This lesson we're going to be doing a different method. So you guys have done graphing, you've done substituting, and now we're going to go ahead and work with elimination. It's exactly what it says. When we did it with graphing, you were graphing the equation. Pretty obvious. Okay, when we did substitution, we substituted one equation into the other equation, and then now we are going to be eliminating. So there is eliminating using addition and subtraction, and then there's eliminating using multiplication. For today's lesson, we're going to focus with adding and subtracting. So that means you're going to be adding the two equations together or subtracting the two equations together, and then when either you add it or subtract it, you're going to have one of your variables cancel out, which is exactly what you want. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to flip the camera around. I don't have, this isn't from your textbook or anything, so it's just a couple of random questions, and go ahead and take out a sheet of paper, or you should already have one when you're watching these videos, but take out a sheet of paper and work these on with me, because you guys know already in math, you only learn by doing it, so if you're not doing it, you're not going to learn it. So have a paper, have some pencil or something to write with, and go ahead and follow me. Okay? So let's go on. I'm going to go ahead and flip this camera so you guys can see. Hopefully my camera focuses properly. I'm going to zoom you in. This is the second time I'm actually making this video because my camera started kind of lagging, so hopefully it works better this second time around. Alright, so using the elimination method. So the first thing you want to do is you want to look at your coefficients. And remember that your coefficient is the number that is in front of that variable. Okay, now when you have 4x, for example, your coefficient is 4. If you have 6y, your coefficient is 6. Pretty obvious, okay? You guys should already know this. This isn't anything new. Now, the first thing you guys can see here, it says 6y and negative 6y. Those are opposite coefficients. This is a positive, this is a negative. So if you were to add them, they cancel out, and that's exactly what we want. So when you see the term elimination, you want to think of canceling out. Okay, so you want to write your equations like this. Okay, so if you're adding, that means you're going to add the top number and the bottom number. Add the top to the bottom. Add this like this. So whatever sign you have here in front, then you are adding the negative. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Okay, so you see if we add this going straight down, 4 plus 3 gives me 7. Okay, 6y minus 6y cancels out completely because it gives you 0. Okay, and then 32 plus 3 gives you what? 35. Okay, so you see there that you already canceled out one of your variables. It's so much easier than the substitution. So now divide both sides by 7 to get that x by itself. Oops, sorry. And then you have x is equal to 5. Okay, now just like we did in the other questions when we were doing 9.1 and 9.2, or sorry, 9.1 only, or my bad, 9.2 with a substitution, you're going to now substitute this 5 into one of your equations. So pick one. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the second one. Okay, so if I have 3x minus 6y equals 3, I'm going to substitute 5 into x. So I have 3 times 5 minus 6y equals 3. So I have 15 minus 6y equals 3. Okay, I hope you're following me so far. To get that y by itself, I want to subtract both sides by 15. Okay, so I have a negative 6y equals a negative 12. Divide both sides by negative 6. That cancels. And so I have y is equal to negative, no, not negative, positive 2, because negative and negative cancels out. So I have my x, I have my y. That means that my solution is the ordered pair 5, 2. Now remember, this is your x, this is your y. Okay? So sometimes if you cancel out your x first and you have your y first, then you're still going to put it over here. Okay, so had this been y equals 5, you still would have written it with the opposite. I hope that makes sense. We'll get to a question like that soon. Okay, so now let's move on to another one. So over here, which one am I going to cancel out? Am I going to cancel out my x's, or am I going to cancel out my y's? Okay, I see here that these are opposite coefficients. So if they're opposite coefficients, I want to go ahead and cancel those out. So I'm going to add. These 4's are going to cancel. So I have 3 plus negative 5 gives me a negative 2. And then negative 3 plus 5 gives me a positive 2. Okay, divide both sides by negative 2. And I have that y is equal to negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead and now substitute that into my original equation. So because the last one I did the second equation, I'll go ahead and do the first one this time. So I have negative 4x plus 3y equals negative 3. So now I want to substitute my negative 1 into my y. So I have negative 4x minus 3 equals negative 3. Okay, add 3 to both sides. Okay, so I have negative 4x equals to 0. So when I divide by negative 4, I get that x is equal to 0. Okay, oops, sorry, you guys can't see down there. Okay, so I get that x is equal to 0. Now, my ordered pair for this is going to be 0, negative 1. Now, in order to check your work, this is something you guys should be doing regularly. Okay, if I substitute these values into my equation, I should be getting a true statement. So I'm going to go ahead and substitute this into this first equation. I'm going to make sure that I did every single thing correctly. Okay, so I have negative 4 times 0 plus 3 times negative 1 equals negative 3. This was my x value, this was my y value. Okay, this is 0, and this is a minus 3 equals minus 3. And so I see that this is a true statement. Okay, so I know that I'm doing it correctly. Okay, so if you ever get to the point that you're not sure if you're doing something right, go back, check your work. Okay, it takes 2 seconds and it gives you peace of mind. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to erase this because I don't have a lot of space over here. Okay, so I'm going to erase that for right now and then go on and do the next one. Okay, so let's go ahead and work here. So now over here, what do I do? Notice something, okay? My y and my x are flipped here. So it doesn't really look like any of them are going to cancel out, but they will. So you want to look at that first, okay? Look that your variables are in the same order, okay? So now here, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite these. Okay, so if I rewrite this, I have a positive 3x and a positive 4y equals 22. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite them so that they're one over the other. So 3x plus 4y equals 22. And then I'm going to write this bottom one now. So 3x minus 4y equals 14. Now you can see that your y's are the ones that are going to cancel out if you add them. Okay, so if I add, I have 3 plus 3 is 6. These cancel, and I'm left with 36 here. Divide both sides by 6, you get that x is equal to 6. Substitute that x into your equation. I'm going to go ahead and just do it on the bottom one. So I have 3 times 6 minus 4y equals 14. So I have 18 minus 4y equals 14. Subtract my 18 from both sides. I have negative 4y equals negative 4. And when I divide both sides, I get a positive 1. So I have an x of 6, a y of 1. My solution is 6, 1. Okay? Pretty straightforward. Okay? Now, let's go on into subtraction. Okay? Same concept. Okay, the only difference is when you want to subtract is if your coefficients are the same coefficient. Okay, so over here, we were doing opposite coefficients, so they had different signs. In this case, you want to subtract when you have the same signs, okay, and the same coefficient. So same thing here. Okay, so now I have 5 minus 9 is going to give me a negative 4. Okay, and when you see these different variables, by the way, it's the same thing. Okay, you're still solving it the same, so don't get too confused by that. Okay, and now 2 minus 2 cancels out. And then we're going to do our next one, and you have 6 minus 22, and that gives us negative 16. Okay, divide both sides by your negative 4. And you have r is equal to positive 4. Okay, next one now, you want to go ahead and substitute that 4 back into your original equation. Now, it doesn't really matter which one you do. I'm going to do the top one because it's smaller numbers. Okay, so I've got 5 times 4 plus 2 times t equals 6. This gives me 20 plus 2t. Subtract 20 from both sides, and you get 2t equals negative 14. Divide by 2, you get your t is equal to negative 7. Now, usually when you are doing a systems and you have variables that are not x and y, you just write your ordered pair alphabetically. Okay, so you're going to have your r first and then your t. Okay, so alphabetically. So r comes before t, so that's how you'd write it. Okay, now next one over here, we're going to be doing the exact same thing. Okay, so here I have same coefficient. They're both minus. So I'm going to subtract from top to bottom. Okay, so 5 minus 7 gives me negative 2m. Okay, now I have a negative 1p. Remember, these are both like having an imaginary 1. So I have a negative 1 minus negative 1. So that minus negative turns this positive now. So these cancel out. So now I have 7 minus 11. And that's going to give me a negative 4. Divide by negative 2. And you have m is equal to positive 2. Okay, substitute that into your equations. Again, I'm going to choose the top one just because it's smaller numbers. So I have 5 times 2 minus p equals 7. This gives me 10. Subtract 10 from both sides. So I have a negative p is equal to negative 3. Divide both sides by negative 1 or multiply both sides by negative 1, however you like. You just got to cancel out that negative. So you have p equals positive 3. Okay, so again, alphabetically, you have m first, then p. All right, so now let's do this second one. Okay, which method do you think would we have to do here? Are we going to keep subtracting or are we going to add? Okay, so think about that for a second. Do we have any of these that have the same coefficient? We do. We have the 8s. Now, if we have opposite coefficients, do we want to add or do we want to subtract? So when you have opposite, you want to add. So we're going to add going from top to bottom. So these 8s cancel out. 5 plus 2 gives us 7. And then now when we add 38 plus 4, we get a 42. Okay? Now, once you've got that, then as usual, go ahead and just divide. So you have 42 divided by 7 gives you 6. Okay? Now, I'm going to choose the bottom one now because, again, smaller numbers. So I've got negative 8x plus 2 times my y equals 4. So negative 8x plus 12 equals 4. Okay, subtract 12 from both sides. And you've got negative 8x equals negative 8. So x gives us positive 1. So again, alphabetically, so x first, then y. Your answer is 1, 6. Okay, so So I'm hoping that that makes sense. I do have a couple more problems here. I'm not going to fully go into them. However, both of these you're going to want to subtract. I'll tell you that much. So go ahead and try doing those on your own. I'll leave you with that. I hope you guys understood this. I don't want to make another super long video. This video is already like 15 minutes long. So if you do have any questions, then feel free to leave a comment down below or email me. And I hope to see you guys with the next video. And again, I hope this helped. See you guys soon. Bye, guys.